Hello everyone, this is Carsten Rothweiler speaking from ICLE Europe, and welcome to the third capacity webinar on mobilizing of public-private financing for community power. Before we go actually into the content of this capacity webinar, which is going to last for about 1 hour, my colleague Georgia will introduce to you the functions of this software which we are using. Georgia, please.
Hello, everyone. I already said hello a few minutes ago. Thank you very much for being with us today. I will just quickly go through the different functions that we have in our platform. To do that, I'm thinking about sharing my desktop with you, so you will see what I'm talking about. You should be able now to see. Okay. So what I would like to show you is there are different functions that we can use and we are going to use today. First of all, there is the possibility of displaying presentation. Right now you're seeing in front of you the welcome message that we have, but we also have already uploaded for your convenience the different PowerPoint presentation that we will be using later on. The other thing that we will be using today is the whiteboard. Carsten will have some questions asking for your feedback, and you will be able to annotate through the different tools that you see in the menu on this white paper, so we will be using that. Especially important functions that we ask you to utilize as much as possible are, well, you can check the participants list. You should be able to see who is joining us today and who you are exchanging your knowledge with. You can raise your hand underneath the list of names. You will see a little hand. You can raise it and you can unraise it when you have a question. We will keep you muted through the webinar. This is just to avoid background noise. If you raise your hand, we will unmute you, of course, so you will be able to interact with us. There is a chat function that you can use both to address the host, so Carsten, to address the other attendees, or to address specifically one of the panelists. There you will also see my name, and if you have any technical question, please feel free just to chat me and I will try to help you and support you. There is furthermore another function that you see on right beside the little hand icon. There you can see a feedback that you can give to the different presentations. If you agree, you can press on yes. If you don't agree, you can press on no. But you can also give feedback on the speed, for example, if the presenter is going too fast, if he's going too slow, and of course, if he makes you laugh, we are more than welcome to see the smiley face and applause if you really enjoy what we are discussing. So these are the generic functions, the main functions that we are going to be using today. If you have any question, please just feel free to chat me, and I will be happy to support you. Who of you has my email address? You can also send me an email and I will try to answer by email very promptly. So now I will just pass on the floor to Carsten, who will lead us through the discussion today.
Thank you, Georgia, for sharing this interactive software tools with us. And I welcome you once again, all of you participants. We are by now 29, but we are expecting some more to this exciting third capacity webinar on mobilizing of public-private financing for community power. Today we are going to have two panelists presenting their views on community energy projects, how to finance them, how to mobilize private as well as public resources for these community energy projects. And we are going to have Markus Trilling from CE Bankwatch Network with us, talking about mobilizing of private public financing for community power, and then followed by, hopefully followed by a presentation from Dirk Wenstingen from EcoPower on the topic of how to foster social acceptance for renewable energy sources projects. Dirk has not yet joined us, but I'm confident that he will, and So we are first starting with Marcus and he will set the framework for our discussions, and then followed by Dirk, more on the issue of not in my backyard syndrome, making it please do it in my backyard syndrome. So we are working our way towards this aim. After each presentation, I will allow 2 questions, and then since 2 questions might not be enough for so many participants, we are going to have some further questions and further discussions at the end of the conference. Feel free again to chat with us, to ask questions during the time, and we are trying to have the answer available once ready. So now I pass the ball to Marcus. Marcus, please go ahead and share your thoughts with us.
A lot to ICLEI. Thanks a lot, Carsten, Georgia, for inviting me, for organizing the event now. As Carsten said, my name is Marcus Trilling, and I'm very pleased by the opportunity today to show you and to spot the light of opportunities we have in the EU budget from the EU funds. I click on sorry, my presentation is there. I assume now everyone can see it.
Marcus,
okay.
We can.
Okay, thank you. So a few words to my provenience. I'm working for a network of environmental NGOs. CE Bankwatch, this is environmental NGO based in Central and Eastern Europe, and we're working on international financial institutions, public banks, and the EU budget. And what I wanted to show you and to bring closer in the next 15 minutes, that from the European Union level, from the EU budget, there is this cohesion policy. And this is a significant amount of money. And one of the top priorities of cohesion policy funding for the next 7 years to come is sustainable energy projects, renewables, energy efficiency. So the transition to a new energy system, this is one of the core priorities, money is there. First, and secondly, that local governments, municipalities, the sub-national and sub-regional level has direct access to those EU funds to support their community energy projects under their own management. Currently, we are in the phase where those national investment plans from cohesion policy, the so-called operational programs, are prepared. And this would still take, let's say, a quarter till the mid of the year. So there is still the possibility to get involved in this shaping of the investment plans to make sure that on the urban level, on the local level, those opportunities are really brought to reality in terms of funding. About how much money are we talking? The EU budget, valid and in force like two weeks ago, the EU budget has roughly the size of 1 trillion. This is exactly 960 billion euros. Is this a lot or is this little? This is about 140 billion euros. This is the state budget of Denmark or twice the Czech Republic. So with the EU budget, you can run countries like the Czech Republic twice. So obviously, what I want to say, for 28 member states, that might not be that significant, but when you look at potentially what can be done with this, this is not that little. Cohesion policy the European Union's policy to develop, let's say, poorer regions, which is mainly Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, but in fact, every country, every city is eligible for EU funding. Those cohesion policy has a budget of 325 billion in 7 years. 1/3 of the EU budget is like cohesion policy and the agriculture policy. These are the main, the main pots. So, since this funding period, there is an innovation, the requirement of a minimum spending on renewables, on energy efficiency, on smart grids, of sustainable urban development. This is those measures and those projects are clustered under the so-called shift to the low carbon economy. And the minimum obligatory amount which will be spent is 23 billion euros. It can be more. Again, it is now up to member states to decide how much this will be, but the minimum is there. This is in so far remarkable, as it is more than the double compared to the last period, 2007-2013. So, where we are. The EU budget foresees quite significant amount of public funding to so-called low carbon economy, but this is one of several objectives and priorities of the EU budget, and especially of the cohesion policy. Sorry. So what I would like to do now in the next 3-4 slides to show you what possibilities and what priorities the EU cohesion policy sets. So EU funds for regional development can go into 11 areas. We hear research and innovation, communication, small and medium-priced enterprises, and the red ones here, these are the purely environmental objectives. We have here the shift to the low carbon economy, climate change adaptation, environmental protection. Further on, we have still transport, infrastructure, employment, social inclusion, education, and the levels. This is more the internal. This is the capacity. And now I want. I was mentioning those 23 billion euros on the low carbon economy. Why is this a minimum? There is in the regulation there has been written down a so-called earmarking, meaning the concentration of some of the funds to particular areas, to particular objectives. And actually there are in 3 areas, there is a minimum amount to be spent by member states. This is research and innovation. This is, 4 areas: research and innovation, SMEs, communication, and the so-called low carbon economy. And what I'm showing here, that we have 3 different regions: the developed, the transition, and the less developed regions. And the minimum amount which those countries or regions have to spend is shown here in this pie. So we have for developed regions, still they are supposed to spend 20% of their cohesion policy budget on energy efficiency and renewables, the so-called transition regions on 15%, and the less developed regions 12%. If one counts the cohesion fund to it, this might be 15%. However, again, the point is there is no escape of spending the money on renewables and energy efficiency. What does it mean exactly? What is being supported under this objective? So we have here production and distribution of renewable energy sources, energy efficiency and renewables in enterprises. Now here in red, probably be interesting as well for the local level, for the cities, it is energy efficiency, smart energy management, and renewables in public infrastructure, in public buildings, and in the housing sector. And this includes now the whole private housing sector as well. This is new compared to the last funding period. Then I mentioned it, we have here as well smart grids falling under this objective and are fundable. We going then, I will come to this later, particularly urban areas are asked to develop low carbon strategies, including transport, including, I would say, comprehensive climate measures. So again, here this is a heads up for governments to create such an integrated approach for the area. We have the low carbon theme in innovation and research. And last but not least as well, the cogeneration of heat and power, of district heating can get EU funds to improve efficiency. Okay, these are still all headlines, buzzwords. Now, very briefly, some example. What does that mean? What can I do with the money? I can invest in the public lighting. I can refurbish my municipal buildings beyond the cost optimal level. This is what the Commission says again and again. Solar hot water, LED traffic lights, heating and ventilation systems, certification, audits, electric vehicles, efficient lighting in historic monuments. This is just an example. My experience is that DG Regio is really open for as well new and innovative approaches which show a longer-term commitment to reduce energy, to get more renewables into it. And what I mentioned before, the urban dimension, the local level, has a particular role in this so-called shift to a low-carbon economy. First of all, we have here as well another minimum spending. It says that at least 5% of the EU funds should go for integrated sustainable urban development. Yeah, so again, 5% is there. Someone has to spend it. And the management and the development should be delegated to the local authorities, to the local stakeholders. So again, what does this all include? Integrated sustainable urban development. This can be housing sector. It is mobility. It is climate change adaptation. It is brownfields. It is generally the urban environment. It is green infrastructure. Yeah. So again, one has here the possibility to think in an integrated way of the city, of the municipality as a, let's say, a living ecosystem. So there are this urban innovative actions, and something new as well. This is the so-called community-led local development. This is a community-led local development is the idea to bring together all stakeholders in this on the local level. So it is public authorities, local business, and civil society, which join up, which meet, which sit together in so-called local action groups to develop their urban development strategies, energy strategies, sustainable development strategies. Can be, it is still the choice of the people, the place in which direction they want to move. But of course, what we think, this is a good opportunity to get all the stakeholders on one table, into one boat, to get your city, your municipality on this particular greening development, I would say. So saying this, we have local government who is willing to do something. We have engaged population, citizens, and businesses. But still, this doesn't make a strategy, or this doesn't make a project. And one of the obstacles to get things running here is, of course, the financing. And what our experience is about what really hinders those all local stakeholders to get together is, first of all, they have to organize themselves, right? They have to meet, they have to know what they want, they have to raise awareness to get people on board. So this is one thing. And then once you're together, of course, developing a project and financing a project as well requires significant time and monetary resources. And this is why we are been looking into the EU funds and thought, how can we make this happening, or how can we improve the whole project development, how we get people together. And we saw that the EU funds in general would be able to support all three pillars, we call this, of such a community energy project. So there are EU funds, there can be grants, can be dispersed for the municipality or for some leaders to get the stakeholders together. Then we know there is a lot of funding, grants funding available to develop the project development assistance, technical assistance, feasibility studies. All the documentation can be granted from the EU funds. And then finally, someone has to pay and finance the installation as such. The wind turbine has to be bought, has to be financed. There are big capital expenditure at the beginning. Energy efficiency measures may be only paid back on the longer term, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. The EU funds as well provide for preferential mechanisms to finance the actual installation through financial instruments. Here, and I'm coming to an end. Slowly, again, here is the idea that 3 areas can be financed from structural funds together with the EU funds. Yeah, so we have here on the bottom, structural and cohesion funds together with a share of national funding potentially are there to develop the community, to build the capacity, to provide for consultancy to the local action groups, to civil businesses. Then we have here the green field. EU funds directly give grants to the project developer. There can be as I said, all the project documentation, feasibility studies, cost-benefit analysis, all this can be granted. And there's as well the EIB with expertise on this. And then last but not least, the Commission calls to use financial instruments to finance the installation. This can be a guarantee for the loan. This can be a subsidy to the loan. This can be the collateral. These are technical details. So, but in general, the EU funds do support all 3 areas, and local governments, in a role as beneficiaries, can as well play the role as a facilitator to make those community projects running. As I said, they are probably the ones who know the players at the local level, the stakeholders. They would be the one who probably could help in identifying the potentials. And then the potentials on renewables, on energy efficiency, but as well the needs on what financing would be needed. Here again, they would be as well the one who probably best know what all kind of projects could be developed, which is in the pipeline. So again, when we look at the local stakeholders, again, local governments are those who can receive the money, but they are as well who can be the engine, the promoter, the catalyzer of the community project as such. I'm coming to an end now. As I mentioned at the beginning, the finances, the money is going to be distributed now. It is the Ministries of Finance, it is the Ministry of Regional Development who have this in hand. I'm sure many of you are very much aware about the programming, about the working groups on the different OPs. I think it is not too late yet to raise your hand, to show your ambition and your commitment to develop those sustainable urban development strategies. DG Regio, who will have to approve the spending plans, is definitely on your side. This is actually my last idea, that try to get in contact with those ministries responsible for cohesion funding, to signalize that you're ready, and then hopefully we'll have at least the financial basis to develop community energy projects in the next EU budget period. Saying this, thank you very much for your attention. Looking forward to your questions, to your suggestions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Markus, too, for this insight and general picture of the framework conditions which are going to be laid out and which determine the local action that is financed. Before I would like also to ask openly and to see if any participant has a question, I would like to ask one as a starter myself. So far, from my experience, EU money is big money and is often not needs to be bundled in order to create for smaller communities in particular the right size for getting a loan or for attracting investment that the EU is thinking and that the EU is spending. Now, when it comes, however, to local governments, there are many small local governments among us. How do you see this general framework, the structural funds in particular, come down to each citizen, sort of, each or smaller stakeholders, energy stakeholders that have a binding, that have a buying in the local energy sustainable action plan, but are not big enough for big investment. So, in other words, how do you see that the structural funds could influence cooperatives investing into local action, or the other way around? How can cooperatives already influence the setup of the structural funds? Thank you.
Thank you, Carsten. Indeed, history suggests that EU fund is for big mega projects, end of pipe solutions, a new highway, a waste incinerator. But I think this has changed with the new funding period. First of all, as I mentioned, the urban dimension, and this is not only the big cities, but as well the municipalities. They have those minimum amount there. Secondly, the Commission prepared so-called off-the-shelf financial instruments, meaning financing mechanisms which release the beneficiary, or as you mentioned, that do not require this bundling of projects anymore to make it happen. Just to give you an example, if we're speaking about housing, private sector, a private building, you have a housing cooperative, for example, or a housing association. With, I don't know, don't let this be a big one, big thing. Let this be, I don't know, dwellings, 100 dwellings, the Commission offers a so-called renovation loan, where all the technical and financing requirements are already done. It foresees then particular elements. As I mentioned, it has a very long payback period, 20 years. It subsidizes the loan. It doesn't require a guarantee, and it enables one representative, the community, to manage it, right? So the idea that only big is beautiful is not that relevant anymore. It is new, and I think it is not yet that well known. This might be again something which as well is not that well, where the ministries are not that conscious about. So this is what I mean. I think it is still worth to ask what is in there for us, for me, and under the you mentioned a cooperative. When we say very much, it depends on national law, but in Central and Eastern Europe, energy cooperatives are dealt with as SMEs, right? And in this classification as small and medium-sized enterprises, they are eligible for EU funding under this thematic objective 3, support of SMEs to roll out energy efficiency. So whenever you have a kind of legal personality under which citizens unite, there are then as well possibilities to get this funded.
Okay, thank you, Markus, once again for this also very optimistic outlook. Now, I see somebody has raised her hand. So, Rayana, I would like to give you the word to ask the last question to Markus. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Maybe you said it, but it's just that my connection is not so well. Can you tell me, or it's too early, what will be the percentage of the whole amount of the project money that the EU funds will be capable to cover?
Yes. It depends on the region. It is between 50% in the so-called developed regions up to 85% of the less developed regions.
Okay, that sounds really nice. And this is also for the smaller projects?
Yes, yes,
okay.
Yes. And again, as I said, this period's EU funding is relatively green and friendly, because there are as well mechanisms that even this 15% co-financing can be fed in from loans coming back in case you are deciding to set up such a revolving fund, how it's called. This is technical detail. Between 50 and 85% is paid by the EU funds.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Markus, first of all, for this insight. I will now pass on the ball to Dirk. Dirk has joined us. I'm very happy that he made it, and Dirk is going to look on the aspect of not in my backyard syndrome instead, and we will have the chance to talk about how to foster the social acceptance of renewable energy projects that are right in front of you. So, Dirk, please share your thoughts with us.
Understand me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I have to apologize. My colleague, his name is on it, on the paper, Dan Kirkland. Unfortunately, his girlfriend died, and he can't join us. Okay, my name is Dirk van Sintram. I'm the I'm from EcoPower, Belgium. And
could you raise your voice a bit, please?
Yeah, I will try. Is this better?
It is. Thank you.
It is? Okay. How do I go to the next slide?
You can just click on with your cursor on the main page, and then you can just use the arrow. If that doesn't work, at the top you can see the number of the slide, and there are 2 arrows, and you can just click on those.
Okay. Okay, this is the overview of the presentation made by Dan. I will talk first about present my own cooperative, EcoPower, from Belgium, France. Then I will talk about renewable energy cooperatives in general and the project we're involved in, the Intelligent Energy Project. And then I will finish with something about the European Federation we just founded. Okay. First about EcoPower. EcoPower was created already in 1991, so it's already 2 years ago, to invest in renewable energy. And our aim was to supply our members with 100% green electricity. And we have 3 main reasons of existence. We want to promote the rational use of energy. We want to promote renewable energy, and it's very important, the connection between both. And we also added a few years ago, we want to promote the cooperative business model, because also how you do it is very important. How does our cooperative work in Flanders? We have members, we have shareholders, it's the same, in fact, and they are at the same time customer of the cooperative. The money they invest, we invest in our own renewable energy projects, and the energy coming from these projects is sold to our members as customers, in fact. So we were founded in 1991. By the end of last year, by the end of 2012, we don't have the figures yet here of 2013. But I can say now we have about 50,000 cooperative members now, and about 40,000 customers, which is at the moment, in 2013, 1.4% of the Flemish household market, because we're only active in Flanders. The capital now, these are the figures of a year ago, is about 50 million euros capital. And we have, you see the other figures, so it's quite a large cooperative. And we have now a staff of about 24 people. So what do we do with the money our members provide to us? We invest in wind energy. We have about 12 large wind turbines spread all over Belgium. So we also invest in the French part of the country. We have some small hydropower installations. We invested in a small cogeneration plant on rapeseed oil, where the heat is distributed. And we have quite a lot of solar PV installations, mainly on schools and on the roofs of our members. So our aim is to supply our members with 100% green electricity. In 2012, it was about 93 million kilowatt hours. So now it has risen a bit to about 100 million, and it's about 40,000 families in Flanders, 1.4%. About half of this is produced by ourselves, and the other is we buy the electricity and the certificates, the green certificates, from other local Belgian energy projects. We all know them. So we buy the electricity and the certificates, and we sell at the fixed price of 22 cents. And our tariff is constructed in a way that rational energy use is immediately rewarded. So we have no fixed fee. So when you consume 0, you pay 0. We also stress that we want to promote rational energy use together with renewable energy and cooperative entrepreneurship. So this goes very well along with what Europe in fact wants by 2020. So we see ourselves as for the citizen as an ideal instrument to help Europe in reaching its targets. And in Flanders, we see clear challenges. Last year, there were only 25 new wind turbines. The internal success rate of new projects is only 5%, and this is often caused by the NIMBY reaction of citizens. And in fact, we think renewable energy cooperatives are one of the best answers to this NIMBYism. People seem to have strange ears. When they own the wind turbine, they are less noisy, it seems. When they are a co-owner of the wind turbine and share in the financial profit, in Belgium it's limited to 6% for cooperatives. And if there is a direct participation in the cooperative in this production, and if the cooperative is a democratically controlled instrument, and people really have the idea, this is my wind turbine, together with my neighbors, then the not in my backyard often changes to yes in my backyard. And what's very interesting is when people get involved in that way in cooperative in producing renewable energy, they use less energy. And this is quite impressive that our members, these 50,000 members, they reduce their energy consumption from the grid with about 46% in 7 years' time. You see the graph over there. So now the average EcoPower member uses about half of what the other Flemish households use. This is due to the fact that they invested in on their roofs. They also insulated their houses. So this is quite an impressive result. So I move over to Rescope. So we chose Rescope as the name for renewable energy sources cooperatives. We have to have a name. As a cooperative, what is a cooperative? It's an autonomous association or a group of people who unite voluntarily in order to meet common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations towards working, owned, and democratic control. So we, as Rescope, we adhere to the International Cooperative Alliance. Our European Federation is received very warmly as a member of.
Dirk, your voice is very low again. Could you raise it a bit?
Yeah, I hear myself somewhere. And I keep. Okay, is this better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So the International Cooperative Alliance has 7 main baselines. You can see them there. It's voluntary and open membership. The members control the cooperative democratically. There is economic participation, not only financial participation. So this means that cooperatives are not a financial product, in fact, but they also provide, for instance, green electricity to their members. They are autonomous and independent. This means they can't be controlled by a private company or by the government. They also educate, train, and inform their members, not only their members, they're open to other people. And what's very important, cooperatives don't compete with other cooperatives, but they cooperate. And cooperatives have a general concern for community. So we think we have a role to play in not only the production but also in supply and distribution of energy, and we think we could be a driving force in the energy transition. Our inventory is not finished yet. It's hard to convince all these people, all these initiatives to register. We see the need to work together on a European level with all of them. But as far we know now, there are between 1,500 and 2,000 restaurants spread all over Western Europe, because in Eastern Europe there are no energy cooperatives as far as we know. So this is why one of the reasons why we about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we started with the RESCOP 2020 Intelligent Energy Europe program with these partners. Some of them are quite known, like Middelbrunn, with their offshore wind farm in Copenhagen, or Schönau, the people from the Schwarzwald in Germany, who bought back their distribution net. We have partners from Scotland, Italy, France. We have an academical partner, EMIS. Their focus is on social economy and cooperatives. And we also have the European branch of the International Cooperative Alliance among our project members. So this is what we want to do. We want to identify the existing cooperatives, their business model, barriers for starting RESCOPs. We have now a report on about 30 best practices, which is you can find on our website, which is very interesting to read. And we also look for people behind these best practices who want to share their experience with starting RESCOPs. We call them mentors. There's a growing list of interesting people willing to share their knowledge. We also want to start. We want to help starting RESCOPs. We are making an online toolbox for them. We want to guide them how to engage and manage stakeholders in the RESCOP. And there's a handbook work in progress on how to overcome the financial barriers which for starting RESCOP. And we selected about 14 pilot projects where we apply and adjust these tools for new RESCOPs and their projects. For instance, there are 2 islands we have as pilot projects. It's in Greece, the island of Tifnos, and in Croatia, the island of Split. Just to give an example. And in fact, we want to leverage our approach EU-wide with workshops, seminars, and meetings. So to finish, the idea years ago already was to create a European Federation, but formally we just did it a few months ago. We have our headquarters in the Cooperative House together with Cooperative Europe. We were received as an associate member of Cooperative Europe. This links us to hundreds, thousands of other cooperatives from different sectors. They all have an interest in what will be the energy supply and energy source of the future. So there we also have a horizontal work group, an energy work group, which covers all cooperatives in Europe. So the federation of the RESCOPs, we have now to start with 10 members. In fact, when there is an association or federation on the national level, this is the obvious member. But when there isn't, as in many countries there is no federation of RESCOPs, the individual RESCOPs can become members. And together with Cooperatives Europe, we now engaged full-time energy advocacy officer, because a lot is going on in the European Parliament, Commission. We have to follow this very closely and propose and lobby our MEPs to alter what the Commission wants into something better. So that's the main aim of our European Federation, is to represent the interest of the rest of the citizens, in fact, to European policymakers. We see that if we really act, that we can change legislation in favor of what we are doing. In Denmark, of course, there's already some years that in every wind energy project there should be a direct participation of citizens of about 20%. And also in Scotland, we see a favorable legislation. There is a community power target within the renewable energy target. Also in the French part of Belgium, we see that there is legislation on the table to ask for about 25% of direct participation of citizens, and also now quite recently in two Flemish provinces. Also, we get support from politicians of every party to have 20% of direct participation in every wind project. And this is also on the table in Croatia for the moment. So this was a quick introduction. I'm just replacing my colleague. Perhaps he had his intention of telling more. But yeah, I'm open to questions anytime. Okay.
Thank you, Dirk, for your presentation. I'd like to invite everyone to raise a hand that has a question. And I would like to start off with once again. Dirk, I had to smile when you said that when people own windmills, they seem less noisier. An interesting theory, and probably true. The question for me is, how can you assure that in a community, everyone, also people that have not so much capital to invest, can participate? First question, and second questions: what is the role of local governments to enhance social acceptance in a community for renewable energy projects?
Yeah. What about people who don't have a lot of money? Our experience is that the fact that they could be a shareholder of the windmill whenever they want is already enough for them to be favorable, or they know people in their family or in their neighborhood. This already changes their attitude. But the most important thing, and here the role of the local municipality is crucial, is that an energy project should be the result of a whole process, often started by all local people or the municipality itself, and this process should start with the realization that we need renewable energy. We need to develop our own renewable energy potential even in our municipality. And without this sense of, without the general consciousness that we need this, it's difficult to implement a project against people. So local municipalities should work together with their citizens on this sense of urgency that everyone should have right now. People should be convinced that they need to do this. And here we changed, in our cooperative particularly, we changed our focus from climate change to energy safety, to getting independent from import of gas, of oil, of uranium. Because then you're talking about money, and this is somewhat, everyone understands it, even people from the very ultra-liberal parties. And we also see across Europe that where municipalities shift the main focus from climate change to local economy and to employment, it brings renewable energy and energy efficiency, that that this that the problem gets mainstream, that the solutions get mainstream. So in Germany, you see that not only the Greenpeace activists, and I'm sitting here in office of Greenpeace, but that not only them are engaged in the energy transition or energy vendor, but also the local farmer is very conservative when it goes to this. So this is so it takes some years to raise the awareness, but then a project is really a project of everyone, and you get no objections afterwards. So this, in the end, it takes less time, I think. Okay.
Yes, thank you. I'm still inviting people to raise their hands if they have a question. I have one more concerning your stakeholder arrangement of co-power. Today in the newspaper, I could read that one of the major investors in Germany, Procton, in renewable energy, which was able to gather from German household, private household sort of citizens that wanted to invest in renewable energy, more than 1 billion euros, is now struggling to keep up with the promises to have a revenue of 7 or even 8%. So here we have a clear connection between people understanding, I think, the renewable energy sector, the future in the renewable energy sector. Then, on the other hand, however, these kinds of projects are big projects and are not in their probably not in their front yard, neither in their backyard, but somewhere else. Your arrangement is a bit different with your member shareholders that then buy the energy back into again. But I think even here, are you not moving further and further away from the original location you started off? Because here you have explored all the renewable energy potential and done the projects which you are able to invest in. Now you are moving somewhere else. How do you ensure that when moving somewhere else, because it makes sense to still invest in renewable energy projects also somewhere else, how do you ensure the social acceptance there?
Yes. About this investment fund Procton or something, I don't know, but the weak point, and we see also competitors here in Belgium, who are in the same situation. When the support mechanism gets less generous, they get into problems. Also for us, the support mechanism is less generous now in Belgium, and the price of the electricity we sell on the energy market is at half in a few years' time. So last year we didn't give a dividend to our members, but for most of them, it's no problem, because the other part of our relation with them, of our economic relation with them, is we sell them the green electricity at cost price. So it's a good price, it's a low price, one of the best prices they can get on the energy market. So we are less vulnerable. And then second part of your question is how when you move from your original place, well, for EcoPower, because we are active in the whole of Flanders as an energy supplier, we recently activated our members on several local energy cooperatives that are cooperating with EcoPower are created, just to ensure that we work close enough with the locals, and that when there is any question or demand locally, that we directly know about it. And of course, wind energy and renewable energy is only a small part of what we can do. We think the major the major issue in the coming years of energy cooperatives will be energy efficiency. We must mobilize the local savings to insulate the public buildings, to insulate schools, to insulate social housing. We see a very clear role as ESCOs, perhaps we can call them S-corps. In the future, our cooperative, we also decided to move into third-party financing for local municipalities. And then you have a clear new role and stay local. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dirk. That was clear as well, and a good message to leave with our participants. Before we come to an end, I would like to move to the whiteboard and would like to evaluate our webinar quickly. You have at the top a pen which you can use if you would like everyone to click on the highlighter, and you have 3 questions that you can answer from minus to plus, so a sort of a scale concerning 3 items. First, useful and relevant information within this 3rd capacity webinar. Second, new information that you were not aware of within this webinar, as well as how much you like the interactivity. Minus is, of course, not so good. A plus is more appreciated. Please pick a color and make a dot, not a line. Please go ahead and choose. I'd like to invite everyone. Okay, already good dots arriving here. It's becoming colorful. Please use the text highlighter and evaluate this 3rd capacity webinar. While you are doing that and still finding the right functions at the top, I would like to announce that we have another webinar coming up on the 3rd of February. It's actually a series. We've split the webinar into 2 parts. The first session will be on the 3rd of February, and the second on the 5th of February. The theme is prioritizing low-carbon energy technologies for sustainable energy action planning. The first session is on how local energy stakeholders can prioritize technologies in their setups, and the second one is on interactive learning processes among local energy stakeholders. So I'm looking forward to see you there, and looking forward to see you in February. We will share the presentations with you. Okay, and I just overheard that Georgia still has an announcement to make before we end this presentation.
Thank you, Carsten. Sorry, I just wanted to invite everybody to stay in the loop and to keep up with the news and the updates on the Co-Power project. Marcus was one of our partners, and he already talked about what we are doing and busy doing there. We are creating national coalition in 6 different target countries, but looking forward to extend to more countries. We are looking forward to provide support both on a legal perspective, on a financing perspective, but also on soft skills on how to develop your own community energy project. So if you're interested in setting up something or to learn more about how you can do it, please get in touch with us, and we will be happy and more than happy to give you all the advice that you need to start your own project. Furthermore, I would like to invite you all to join us on our newly launched social media campaign of Covenant Capacity. We have a Facebook profile which is now kicking and running, and we invite you to get in touch with us there and yeah, just ask your questions. Our trainers will be more than happy to share with you the correct answer and to try to find solution and support tailor-made for each one of you.
Great, thank you, Georgia. And with this message, we will leave you. Wish you, which we have not done yet, wish you a happy and healthy and sustainable, renewable and cooperative 2014. Thank you for joining. Please join us on the 3rd of February. See you there and talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.